Hello, this is Mohammed. We're gonna talk about the meiosis in sexual life cycle. First, before that, we're gonna talk about the big idea. What is the big idea? The big idea is the ability of an organism to produce their own kind. That's what we call, that's for example, like only an oak, tree can produce an oak tree, an elephant can produce an baby elephant, and so far a human can produce a human. So it's not like human can produce a goat, or elephant can produce a human or anything like that. Only their own kind. That's what we mean. Then we can talk about the heredity. Heredity is the transmission of traits from one generation to another generation. So offspring or the baby may differ from their parents. That even though they produce their own kind, they may have a slightly different from their parents. The big idea again. Here's offspring may differ from their parents, where this is differentiation. So offsprings may differ from their parents. Where this differentiation is called variation. Example of variation of a Mexican family. Here's the thing, we have like two parents here, the father and the mother. Even though these two kids, the girl and the boy, they are the offsprings or their children. They still have some differences. They still have some differences, but like slightly, similarities, but not much, like not super like the boy, he might have a little bit of the eyes of his dad, and the girl, she might have a little bit of the eyes of her mom. It's kind of a little bit, but not like really super like similar to each other. So an introduction to heredity. So offspring acquires a gene from their parents by inheriting chromosomes. Parents provide to their offspring with the coded information, in the form of heredity called gene. Thousands of genes that we inherited are from our parents, which consists of our genome, genome is mostly a collection of DNA, chromosomes. So in our chromosome, our gene programs the specific traits that are physically expressed. So like begins more or less a comparison of asexual and sexual reproduction. Like bigots, like it's like kind it's a phrase that is used. I mean, this is what I mean. I'm sorry, just give me a sec. Like bigots, like. So it's a phrase that is used to describe the ability of an organism to produce their own kind. The phrase only applies to an organism that produces asexual. Individual organism passes copies of its own gene to offspring. A single individual is a single parent. In here, asexual or reproduction. So an individual that produces asexually produces a clone. So a clone is a group of genetically identical individuals. That's how it's kind of it is. Here's an example of asexual reproduction, which is Hydra. This is relatively simple multicellular organisms, multicellular animal, which are produced by budding. The bud, localized mass of methodically dividing cells, so develops into a smaller hydra, which detaches from the parent. Here's the buds. Let's see. So it detaches to the parent. Here's the thing. What it does is like mass of so it detaches from the parents. So it comes out from the parents. Here's the example of hydra. It just detaches from this is the bud. So they're produced by using like through budding. So in comparison to sexual, in sexual reproduction, so it's a form of reproduction where two parents transmit their combination of gene to offspring. So in contrast to a clone, parents of a sexual reproduction vary genetically from the offspring. So what caused this variation between parents of the offspring? This is caused by the behavior of chromosomes during the life cycle. The role of meiosis in sexual life. Fertilization and meiosis alternate in cell cycle. Let's go to human cycle first. In human cycle, all cells, somatic cells, which is all cells, or the body cells except the sex cells, have 46 chromosomes. Chromosomes can be distinguished by their appearance using the light microscope. The arrangement pair of chromosomes are called karyotype. The way how chromosomes are arranged are called the karyotypes. The chromosomes that are similar in terms of their appearance and size are known as homologous chromosomes. Important exception for homologous chromosome in human somatic cells. In human females, they have a chromosome pair of X, which is X, pair is 2 X's, and are known as the autosome. In contrast to male, they only have one piece of autosomes that was previously inherited from a mom, which they pair as in XY chromosome, known as the sex cells. Which means, sex cells. This will be called known as a sex cell because you get where the dad have as we talked about the mitosis before, where the dad sex cells, which is the sperm, fuses to the ovum, which is the female eggs. So this is and then causes sex cell fertilization. The somatic first, sex cells. In somatic cells, they only have 46 chromosomes in total, where half of the chromosomes are from each of the parents, which is 23 in each piece. In sex cells, each of the reproductive cell or gametes has only a single of 22 autosomes, which is XX pair, plus a single chromosome, which is either X or Y. So a cell with a single chromosome is called a haploid. So N stands for where N, the number of chromosome equals 23. How are cells derived from somatic cells? So the haploid sperms from the father reaches and fuses with the haploid ovum or the egg of a mother. So the union is called fertilization or syngamy. So the fertilized egg is called the zygote, which contains 2 sets of chromosomes from each of the parents. Note, gametes or sex cells are not produced through mitosis, but it is produced through meiosis. So here's the human life cycle. This is where the human life cycle is. In each generation, so the doubling of chromosome number that result from fertilization is offset by having chromosomes of chromosome number that results from meiosis. So for human, the number of chromosomes in haploid cell is 23, which is 23. So the number of chromosomes in diploid zygote and all somatic cells are arising from is 46, which is 46 chromosomes, which is 2 pair of chromosomes. Here's the thing. You see haploid gametes, diploid they form sperms, combines with the ovum. So then diploid zygote, which is 46, then mitosis development, then multicellular diploid adults, then over again it goes and it goes again. So the variety of sexual life cycle, the variation of sex of the cycle can be grouped into 3 main types of a cell. The first example is in human life cycle. In human life cycle, gametes or sex cells are the only diploid cell. Meiosis occurs during production of gametes or sex cells, which undergoes no further division prior to the fertilization. The diploid zygote divided by the process of mitosis producing multicellular organisms. The second type of a life cycle occurs in some fungi and protists, including algae. In the life cycle of fungi, protists, and algae, the sex cell fuses to form diploid zygote where the meiosis occurs before the offspring develop. The meiosis produces haploid cells that then divide by the process of meiosis to give the rise to haploid multicellular organisms. The third type of life cycle are plants and some, algae. The type of, life cycle is known as the alternation of generation. They include both diploid and haploid multicellular organisms. The multicellular haploid are known as the sporophyte. They produce a haploid cell called spores. Spores give a rise of multicellular individuals without fusing other cells with other cells. They divide mitotically to generate multicellular haloid called gametophyte. They make a gamete or sex cells through a process of meiosis. Here's again, haploid. It has a haploid, where the gamete fertilizes. This is a haploid. Then it converts to a haploid cell. After that, the mitosis continues. Then haploid continues. Then meiosis occurs. Then haploid cells occur. This is almost like double. Here we have the common feature of all three three cycle is the alternation of these two events, which contributes variation among the offsprings. They contribute variation among the offsprings. Meiosis reduces chromosomes from diploid to haploid. An overview: meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. That's the type of meiosis we have. Note, in meiosis, the chromosomes replicate once. The diploid cell divides twice, yielding or producing 4 haploid daughter cells. An overview steps: first, each of the chromosomes replicate. Second, the first division, which is meiosis 1, segregates the 2 chromosomes of the homologous pair, packing them in separate haploid daughter cells. Third, the second division, which is meiosis 2, sister chromatids. Divides the sister chromatids. Interface, pair of here's again overview. Meiosis reduces chromosome number from diploid to haploid. A closer look, let's look at meiosis. It's a form of cell division that occurs in sex organs and ovaries, which are ovaries and testes, to produce gamete. The point of meiosis is to make 4 genetically different cells. Let's take steps of meiosis. Before we take the first step, we look at the interface. This is where the DNA replication takes place. In the S phase, where each chromosome, the result of 2 genetically identical sister chromatids, remains attached to their, centromeres. The centrosomes are also replicated to form central pair. That's the end of our first video, which is meiosis 1. So we're going to talk about the next video about meiosis.